What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here to talk about the arrival of Carolina's two true freshman basketball players in this one, and obviously those guys being Elliot Cadeau and Zayden High. I actually tweeted out a picture. We're recording this one on Wednesday, but I tweeted out a picture earlier today that Carolina put out of Zayden and Elliot Cadeau in practice in Carolina gear. So, obviously participating and practicing with the team right now as well during some of their, limited summer stuff. But AJ, talk to me a little bit about the arrival of Cadeau, the arrival of Zayden High, because as we know, Carolina fans love the new, I like to call them new shiny toys coming into Chapel Hill, really highly touted guys, especially a guy like Cadeau. I think there's a lot of excitement around these two guys coming into Chapel Hill.
There is. It also, the portal guys have been kind of coming in different times, but the formal welcoming was last week. So with the freshmen now there, this is the true beginning of the 2023-24 season now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's exciting for a couple of reasons. I would imagine fans are looking forward to something new and different and disconnecting from what was a really, really disappointing season and underachieving a season as ever in North Carolina basketball history. I don't think that that's something people can really argue against. And it's also a pivotal season. Hubert Davis needs to win. And we'll go in depth more on that in a different daily drop here or a basketball show coming up. But I know that he needs to win. And there's a lot of understanding of what's being done in the program. But the last 4 years in late February, North Carolina was not a certainty to make the NCAA tournament. That is unacceptable. And the fans recognize it. They've been very down for a lot of the negativity around basketball tweets when we put it out. It's wild, man. It's not something that we used to see. So a lot of things need to shift course into a new, what used to be typical direction for North Carolina. And I think having Elliot Cadeau step on campus and in the practice gym and wearing Carolina garb and working out, I think that signals the possibility that something like this could happen because the expectations for him are off the charts. There's nothing any of us can do to downplay it. It's going to be that way. I think he embraces it. I think his family embraces it. I think they fueled it to a degree, and I think they will continue doing so. Yeah. So let it roll, man. Let it roll. And as far as Zayden High goes, we'll talk a little bit more in depth about these two guys here in a minute. But I think that when the coaches watch the team gather at center court for a chat, they're going to like the fact that there's another 6'10" guy in that group because it's not a very long group, which is what has been the norm for North Carolina basketball. So you're going to welcome a 6'10" guy with some skills, a 6'10" guy that played in a terrific program last year in Arizona. So he knows how to play with other really good players. So while he may be a project for a while, I don't think he's a guy that's going to get pushed around a ton either. I think he will help them in practice, which is something they need because right now they only have 10 scholarship guys.
Yeah, a lot of new faces obviously was in the program talking about the couple true freshmen coming in. Obviously, Simeon Wilcher was a part of that list before, trying to get out of his NLI, which he ultimately did, and ending up on Rick Pitino at St. John. So I know with these two guys, and include the transfers that came in, a lot of new faces, but it's interesting because, like you mentioned, it's a contrast in two guys. I know Carolina fans excited about both of them, probably a little bit more so towards Elliot Cadeau. What I mean by that is Elliot Cadeau is a guy that's expected to come and start. Like you mentioned, Zayden High, a little bit more of a project, but as you mentioned as well, does add a much needed kind of body down low because Carolina doesn't have a ton of options down at that forward position, true forwards. And we've talked about all off season about Carolina maybe dipping into the portal to get a backup five. I know Zayden High, not necessarily, like I said, maybe ready to step in and fill that position at power forward or at center, but he does add a little bit of depth down there. And AJ, let's not forget too, I mean, you talk about a guy to play under and learn a little bit from in Armando Bacot. The year with him, I think that experience is invaluable because you talk about a guy in Armando came in, maybe expected to do a little bit more than he did his freshman year, was a little inconsistent, and has grown into the player he is now, which is fantastic. So talk about just kind of a guy right in front of you that you can not only learn from, but look at his story in Carolina and be like, okay, it might not work out too great my freshman year. If I continue to work hard, continue to develop my game, I can become an All-American in North Carolina like Armando's been able to do.
Yeah, I think the education that Zayden High gets here in the next couple of months is going to be significant because it's not just battling Armando every day, but he's going to have to go out and guard Jalen Withers. I mean, he's going to get in situations where maybe he's got to guard Harrison Ingram. He's also going to have to go up against Tyler Hansbrough and all those guys that come back and play. And he's going to get a great education. He may get clobbered, but so what? I mean, everybody gets clobbered at some point, and then you just kind of grow from that. So it's important that he's there, and it's important that he gets as much of that work as he can. David believes he's a project and believes he's a 5, not really a 4. Okay, so let's operate under that belief. He needs to just get banged and banged and banged, because ultimately, if they're going to be in situations where they need to fill in for Armando, if Zayden High can defend some, rebound some, and screen some, and deal with being screened, then he'll be able to help enough, because they're going to have other scoring on the floor. He's not going to have to produce what Armando produces. He's just not going to have to create a sort of a total vacancy in the post that I think would have happened. Let's say if it was someone like Will Shaver that was filling it. Zayden is so much further ahead than Will Shaver was, but he's probably not ready for 15 to 20 minutes a game. But he is that body. I think that of all the guys that are there, his development of the next 2 months is going to be the most interesting to watch because of that. Now, as far as Cadeau goes, he's got to get in sync with everybody. RJ has to play off the ball. As much as his instincts are going to say go head-to-head against Cadeau in practice and school him a bunch, and that will happen like in the workouts and the pickup that they play. That'll happen a lot. But he also needs to get out there and play the 2 with Cadeau at the 1, because the reason that this is happening is because RJ agreed to move to the 2. May not have been too thrilled about it. Maybe his people weren't too thrilled about it. But in the end, he made a decision that is best for him and best for the program, and best for him go hand in hand in this situation. Yeah. So he wants to win. He loves North Carolina. I wouldn't be surprised if he lays down some roots in that area when he's done playing. And this is an opportunity for him to leave a different kind of legacy. So he said yes. Not everybody would have said yes in that situation, but he did. So Cadeau walks in there as a swap essentially for Simeon Wilcher, because I think that if you're Hubert and you're Jeff Lebo and you're the staff, Sean and Brad and Pat and all those guys, you're thinking a couple of weeks ago, okay, we're probably going to lose Simeon Wilcher if we take Cadeau, because Simeon wants to be on the ball and Simeon wants to get decent playing time at the minimum. What do we do? And if everything else is okay, and the key is moving RJ to the 2, I think you go for broke in 23-24 season. You take Cadeau, you swap it out, and you figure you're a better team. Now, you'll deal with 24-25 later. But they got to win now. Yeah. Hubert needs to win now. He knows that. The people that make decisions there know that. So the team is there. If they make any other additions, I wouldn't be completely surprised if there's another addition. I don't know any insight on here. I'm just kind of feeling my instincts, because they got to have another scholarship guy. Now, whether it's someone that reclassifies, whether it's someone that's from in the portal, because there's still guys out there in the portal, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's 11th scholarship that is being occupied by the time the fall classes start in August, and then they just may roll with 11 guys. Yeah. So I think it's a big day. If nothing else, it's the start of the 23-24 season. But like I will reiterate one more time, Zayden High, the importance of his growth the next 2 weeks, and then Elliot Cadeau getting comfortable with RJ Davis and let that stuff roll. So I think it's a big day.
No, I agree as well. And real quickly, just to hit on one last thing before we get out of here, you got to go all the way back to 2015 to find a class that only had 2 commits for North Carolina, that class being Luke May and Kenny Williams. Bit of a smaller class for the Tar Heels than we're accustomed to seeing. And, obviously with Carolina losing a good amount of players last year, it may be a little bit of a surprise, but for me, speaks to the changing landscape of college basketball, college sports with that transfer portal. You don't necessarily need to have these massive classes anymore. And in some ways, AJ, I honestly think it might be smarter to not go after a bunch of true freshmen all the time and dip into the portal, because there's so many good players in it. So I think it just maybe speaks a little bit to the shift that we've seen with this transfer portal coming in.
Yeah, that's a great drop for another time. I'll tease that one, saying at least when you go in the portal, you have a better idea of what you're getting.
Yeah.
You don't always know with freshmen. So,
yeah.
But, they could add to the class. It's possible.
And they may. Mm-hmm.
Because it depends on how those conversations go.
Mm-hmm.
And if certain somebody is willing to take sort of a backseat role, but get started on the college career, I think that would be something that would have to be communicated and embraced.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is, they have a pretty good 10. They have a rotation. There's no excuse not to use the bench. It's his guys. So we're going to hit this stuff so hard over the next several months heading into the season. And so today's a good day. It's the beginning of 23-24 basketball season. I love it because I love college basketball. I love college football. I love covering it for a living and always love chatting about it with Mr. Jacob Turner.
Yeah, man. Right back at you, AJ. Massive year ahead for the Tar Heels as well. Like you said, got to win now. Can't be delaying the winning anymore. They got to get back to winning ways and get this program back to the incredibly high standard that it's set, over the last 100 years, really. So a fascinating year coming up, and we'll see what the heck happens. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones for another episode of the Daily Drop. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe with the notification bell as well. Keep it locked at TarHeelIllustrated.com and our social media channels at Heel Illustrated on Twitter and at Tar Heel Illustrated on Facebook. All the links you need are below to come get involved and come follow us on those platforms. Appreciate y'all watching. See you on the next one. Thanks.